The teacher looks at Fujita's empty career counseling form and asks him whether he really is so pathetic that he doesn't have any dreams or ambitions, but Fujita assures that he doesn't have anything that he loves. He is about to leave when he notices another teacher scolding a pretty chick named Shizuku about not being serious about her future. The teacher advises Shizuku that she can get into a big high school with her grades. Fujita realizes that even smart people can get uncertain about their future, and just then she catches him staring like a creep, so he storms out the room. After school, he notices Shizuku walk down to a place called Ogasawara Dance Studio, and just when he thinks about following her inside, a group of his schoolmates come across him. They try to bully him into giving them money, but they realize that he doesn't have any money on him. They tell him that he doesn't have money or a life, and surprisingly he agrees with them rather than fighting back. A motorcyclist rushes past them and the bullies all run away when the tall, intimidating motorcyclist tells them to stop fighting. The motorcyclist asks Fujita whether he wants a trial, and he drags him downstairs where he reveals that he is the studio's owner who recently opened up the studio. The owner, named Sengoku, takes him inside into his dance studio where another hot chick, Tamaki, also introduces herself. Sengoku starts going on about how Fujita must be struggling to speak out aloud that he wants to dance, and then helps him straighten his posture by giving him a nice punch in the stomach. Shizuku also walks in the studio and comments that she already knows Fujita. Sengoku asks Shizuku to pair up with Fujita, so she holds him close to her and asks him why he is here. The trial lesson for the others finishes up, and Tamaki tells Fujita that ballroom dancing is a competitive sport in which Sengoku is also a pro, while Shizuku plans to participate competitively too, even though she is moving abroad next year. Fujita realizes that he is nothing like Shizuku, who has her life already figured out, so he storms out of the studio. Fujita arrives home where his dad tells him that his teacher called him to discuss his future high school plans. Later, he discovers a DVD of last year's competition that Tamaki sneaked into his bag along with a pamphlet of studio charges, which makes Fujita realize that he can never afford ballroom dancing private lessons. He still decides to watch the DVD before returning it, and to his surprise he becomes enchanted by the ballroom dancing, especially by Sengoku's performance, who seems to be telling him to look at him. Later, he goes to the studio to return the DVD, and when Tamaki asks him whether he wants to join the studio, he tells her that he will work part-time to come up with fees, even though he wants to reject her. He clarifies himself that he wants to enter competitions as a pro like Sengoku, and he officially asks Sengoku to teach him how to dance. Tamaki gives him a pair of shoes and Sengoku gives him a little demo of box dancing. Fujita copies him in a pathetic way and comments that he can do such basic movements, so Sengoku shows him how to do long strides. Sengoku then tells him to keep practicing the same moves again and again till he tells him to stop. Fujita gets to work while Tamaki asks Sengoku why he didn't teach him something fun rather than box dancing, and Sengoku tells her that Fujita will leave dancing in 20 minutes. He comments that it's not easy to become a competitive dancer just by watching one video, and that he wants to test him out. Fujita keeps practicing his weak dance moves and recalls how Sengoku was moving earlier, and how his movements resemble a pendulum, so he tries to move like a pendulum as well, even though he finds it really hard. After some time, Shizuku walks inside and finds Fujita doing box dancing, which is a type of waltz, and she notices that his movements resemble Sengoku's moves. She claps for him when he finishes his steps and steps forward to hold him for some dancing advice. He starts to fall down and Sengoku also arrives in the studio. He notices that the floor is filled with sweat, while Fujita notices that he has been practicing all night, and that it's morning now. He even gets a lot of blisters on his feet and ends up breaking his shoes. Sengoku tells him to give it a rest, while Fujita just asks him whether he will teach him the next move. Shizuku also compliments his stubbornness and Sengoku teases him when he starts blushing. Later, Sengoku introduces him to two trainee teachers, Banba and Jingo, and he tells him to take lessons from them since the lessons are on the house. They start whining about Fujita's non-existent skills after a while Fujita tells them that he can't understand their vague instructions. Sengoku tells Shizuku that he is also taking Fujita to the competition next week, in which she is also participating. They all go to watch the competition and Sengoku gets swarmed with fangirls who ask him to take pictures with them. Jingo tells Fujita that Sengoku is the Latin champion, and soon the judge starts calling the name of the 6 pairs that have qualified for the finals. Shizuku's name gets called too, and Fujita notices her partner Kiyoharu, who gives a scary look right off the bat. Sengoku tells Fujita that Kiyoharu is in his grade and he is ranked first in the Latin and standard dancing. He also taunts him that he has to watch who he is going to be competing against if he really wants to go pro like Sengoku himself. For the final dance, all the players dance to a waltz first, which amazes Fujita, and for their final dance they move to a quick-step routine in which they quickly dance around the floor. Fujita notices that his heart is thumping even though he is getting chills to see Shizuku paired up with a scary guy. Shizuku and Kiyoharu earn the first position, and Banba comments that they even beat the pair which came in the first position last year. The next day, Fujita arrives at the studio with a renewed passion for dancing, and Kiyoharu also walks past him. He calls after him, which alerts Kiyoharu, and he falls down the stairs. Sengoku scolds Fujita because he cannot scold Kiyoharu in front of his partner Shizuku. Kiyoharu then gives his old used pair of dancing pants, and he thanks him for giving him his old clothes on Shizuku's request. Shizuku comments how Fujita is not relying on his parents for help, and she even calls him cool. Sengoku then kicks Fujita and orders him to try on the pants, so Fujita rushes to the changing room where he comes across Shizuku changing clothes. She kicks him outside, and later when he tries on the dancing pants, he realizes that he cannot fit them since he is too big for them. The others laugh at him endlessly, and Sengoku even decides to stay to watch him practice in such pants. He starts to practice, and Sengoku scolds his teachers when he sees that his performance is even worse than before. He notices that Fujita seems concentrated on Shizuku and Kiyoharu's performance, so he tells him to stop focusing on them since their waltz is different from his practice, and that he can come with his own style once has his own partner too. Of course, Fujita doesn't listen to him, so he asks him to pair up with Kiyoharu and learn the basics with him. He tells Kiyoharu that he can't stop dancing till Fujita has learned his steps, while he tells Fujita to follow in Kiyoharu's steps. Kiyoharu then begins sliding around the floor like a swan, while Fujita thinks about how he will humiliate himself if he tries to imitate him. He reminds himself that Kiyoharu is dancing for his sake, so he gets his mind out of the gutter and begins watching him like a hawk. Soon he starts following him by imitating his steps, and to everyone's surprise he keeps with Kiyoharu. Sengoku realizes that nagging him is pointless since he seems to learn by watching the others, and just then, his foot slips so he falls on the floor. Sengoku punches Jingo for making fun of him, and he also teases Kiyoharu that a newbie stole his footwork easily. He keeps testing him, so Kiyoharu comments that he doesn't care about his talent being stolen, while Shizuku gets offended to hear this. The next day, Shizuku waits for Fujita in school, and she informs him that his pants have been altered to his size. She invites him to go to Kiyoharu's house together, and on the way, she tells him that she has paired up with Kiyoharu for 9 years because their grandparents were dance partners back in the day. She reveals that Kiyoharu was dancing with a high fever in the previous tournament, and that he is probably bored of the nationals, so she wants to go abroad with him, but he doesn't want to go. They reach his home, and Fujita climbs up to the studio with the intention to scold Kiyoharu for being so inconsiderate, but he comes across Kiyoharu dancing by himself passionately. He stops when he realizes that he is worlds apart from him, and Shizuku tells him that Kiyoharu is the best leader she can ever have since no one else is more considerate than him. He rushes inside, and after asking Kiyoharu about his next match, he tells him that he will cheer for him and runs away. Later he practices at his home by himself, and even at the studio, while Sengoku notices that he seems to be practicing as if he has a partner with him. Fujita does some routine steps successfully with Banba, and everyone celebrates while Sengoku taunts him since he still cannot do the basics properly. The others defend Fujita's non-existent skills, while Sengoku wonders why he saw him shadow practice with Shizuku. Later at home, Fujita does a commentary for a wrestling match for his grandmother, who struggles to hear properly, and he tells his dad that he will be out on the coming Sunday, which makes his dad wonder whether he's going on a date. All the studio members go to the Prince Mikasa Cup Championship venue, which is a championship for amateurs and in which more than 200 couples enter. Sengoku takes Fujita to the backstage, where Fujita fawns over the makeup and dresses of the dancers, so Sengoku tells him that he should take the dancers seriously since it's a battlefield in which they compete to win or lose. They go to the changing room to meet Shizuku and Kiyoharu, and Sengoku points out Iwakuma, who is Kiyoharu's only opponent and who won the tournament last time. Sengoku calls out Iwakuma and starts calling him insulting names, while Tamaki tells Fujita that they both used to be rivals some time ago. Fujita notices in his pamphlet that Sengoku used to dominate both standards for 5 years straight, and Sengoku yells at Kiyoharu to win both divisions for his sake. He goes crazy over Shizuku too, and later the dancers head for the second qualifying round for the American Latin division. The dance begins, and the dancers dance in different styles such as the samba and cha-cha style, while Fujita remains transfixed by the dancing. He comments to Sengoku that the players seem to transform differently in each kind of dancing style, and he compares himself to them since he only knows waltz at this point. The others decide to take a break since the second division is after the juveniles match, and they notice that Fujita seems really transfixed by the Latin music as he keeps tapping his food. Later, Fujita dances in the washroom because he feels like he can dance to the waltz rhythm, and when he hears some footsteps approaching, he hides inside a bathroom stall. The dancers keep talking about the possible winners while Fujita finds himself cramped up with Kiyoharu, who seems to be using athletic tape on his knee. The dancers discuss how they wanted to see Sengoku's pair win the championship and how Kiyoharu's pair has never lost any match, which is probably due to his influential parents. They discuss that Kiyoharu never puts in effort, so dancing must be a game for him, and Fujita rushes out in anger when he hears this, which shuts them up. The dancers start to gather at the floor while Iwakuma tells his partner to go ahead as he looks back at Kiyoharu. Shizuki tells the others that she cannot find Kiyoharu anywhere, so Sengoku goes to the changing room and starts rummaging through his bag. He finds some athletic tape lying inside, so he tells Fujita to get on the dance floor instead. In the meanwhile, Kiyoharu lies injured at the bottom of stairs while Iwakuma stares at him from a distance. The second head of the tournament is about to begin, so Sengoku tells Shizuku to go on the floor, and soon Fujita accompanies her in a suit and boots. Iwakuma asks his partner Mina whether Kiyoharu's leg looks okay, and he comments that they might come on the top. Just a few moments before, Sengoku makes Fujita get ready, and he tells him that he is never going to get another chance to dance with someone else's partner. Once he is on the floor, Fujita thinks that he is stupid enough to think he can dance in front of so many people, and Shizuku tells him to start dancing since the music is playing. The others from the dance studio also yell at him to start moving since he knows the basics, so Fuji recalls how he has to move left and right. He recalls Kiyoharu's choreography and jumps to action as he takes Shizuku into his arms. He begins the waltz, and the others become surprised to see that he is copying Kiyoharu's choreography. Fujita keeps thinking about how Kiyoharu would move in his replacement, and as the waltz music pitches to a rise, Fujita freezes his pose. The others observe that he is doing a high hover pose, which is meant to bring attention to the elegance of their pose, and they wonder how he learned it since it wasn't in Kiyoharu's choreography. Fujita meanwhile realizes that he doesn't do any more moves, but when he notices Shizuku's strained face, he starts dancing again by using basic moves. They both lead and follow each other while Kiyoharu stumbles towards the audience and notices that Fujita seems to be smiling despite his first dance. Suddenly, Fujita trips into Shizuku's dress and they both fall, but just then, the music stops as well. They both bow and regroup with the others. Kiyoharu then grabs Fujita's collar and tells him to give his dance back to him. Fujita wonders why Kiyoharu is angry at him while the others scold Sengoku for letting Fujita dance with Shizuku since it can disqualify the pair. The pairs get called for the next event, which is tango, and surprisingly even Shizuku's pair gets called, which means that their little adventure wasn't discovered. Kiyoharu starts to take Shizuku to the floor and Sengoku yells at him to stop, but he tells him that he cannot stop after seeing Fujita's performance. Sengoku then scolds Fujita that it's his fault if Kiyoharu busts up his leg, and he tells the others about the athletic tape that he found in Kiyoharu's bag. He scolds Fujita again since he thinks that Fujita's dancing with Shizuku hurt Kiyoharu's tiny little ego, due to which he is insisting on dancing the next event, and the tango event begins. Kiyoharu smoothly glides Shizuku across the floor, and when he notices Fujita in the audience, he becomes even more fired, so he starts dancing even more passionately. He glides her all across the floor and the audience claps for his spectacular performance. Shizuku wonders what's wrong with Kiyoharu, and the way he is dancing makes the club members also comment that his leg must not be injured since he is dancing so splendidly. Kiyoharu makes a turn and feels his bones snapping, but he doesn't stop because the grind goes on. He spins around and even yells out in passion. The audience even wonders why Kiyoharu is dancing so passionately, and he makes such quick turns with Shizuku that even she wonders whether this is the real Kiyoharu. Sengoku thinks about how Kiyoharu's soul has been reignited, and Kiyoharu keeps up this fierce performance which leaves everyone in awe. He hops on the floor with Shizuki and finally finishes his performance with a blast, due to which everyone in the audience erupts in cheers for him. They give him a standing ovation and even start chanting his name, but out of nowhere Kiyoharu falls on Shizuku. He then collapses on the floor while giving Fujita a sly smile. Later, Banda tells everyone that the competition authorities have suspended Shizuku and Kiyoharu from competing for 6 months because they put another dancer in one of their plays. Sengoku teases Fujita that it's all his fault, and he takes it to his heart since he thinks that he caused their suspension. Later, he goes to visit Kiyoharu at the hospital, but he doesn't find him in his room, and he instead comes across Iwakuma, who had come to visit Kiyoharu as well. They both munch on snacks as Fujita tells him that he subbed in for Kiyoharu during one of the dancing events, and Iwakuma tells him that he was dancing in the same event as well. He feels sorry for Kiyoharu, who cannot compete for 6 months, and he tells Fujita about how he was trying to Kiyoharu before the event, but Kiyoharu ended up stumbling down the stairs, due to which he had to take him to the first aid office too. He reveals that he couldn't focus because of the incident, because of which he came second. He asks Fujita whether he didn't feel afraid in front of all the people since he seems like a chicken, so Fujita starts bawling his eyes out. He whines about how he was praised by the audience for the first time even though Kiyoharu got in trouble because of him, and that he wants to dance again. Iwakuma soothes him the best that he can, and later Fujita arrives home only to find Kiyoharu lounging with his family members. He even does sumo commentary for Fujita's grandmother, so Fujita drags him to his room where Kiyoharu notices that there are signs of him practicing. He tells him that he can't dance for a while due to his leg, and Fujita then apologizes to him for getting him suspended for 6 weeks. Fujita explains that he actually wanted to dance a waltz with Shizuku, so Kiyoharu comments that he had fun dancing tango too, although he doesn't remember most of it. He tells him to get on the stage soon, and Fujita declares that he will soon join him on the stage. He then walks him to the train station where Kiyoharu tells him to take care of Shizuku before getting on the train. The next day, Fujita thinks that he should apologize to Shizuku, but just then a random chick storms inside the studio and falls on him. She then tells Shizuku to make a run for it, and just then a dude also enters behind her. He comments that Hikaru is dead and asks Shizuku to dance with him. Banba makes tea for the new arrivals and tells Fujita that the newcomers are Gaju and Mako, a very good dance pair who excel at amateur Latin. Gaju also recognizes Fujita from the competition, so he thanks him for getting Kiyoharu suspended. The others comment that he came in 5th position as well, so he tells them that his sister Mako was pulling him down. He asks Shizuku to pair up with him, so Sengoku tells him to get lost, but he keeps pestering her to pair up with him now that Kiyoharu is gone. Even Fujita stops him, and Gaju asks him whether he is her partner, while Fujita recalls how Kiyoharu told him to take care of Shizuku. Sengoku comments that Shizuku won't dance with anyone other than Kiyoharu since dancing partners are like a married couple, but to everyone's surprise Shizuku tells Gaju to dance with her. Snegoku starts to scold her, and Maki quietens him down by saying that they are just going to practice rather than officially pair up. Fujita notices that Shizuku seems a bit angry, and soon both Gaju and Shizuku begin to dance on the floor. They get along with each other, and Fujita notices that Gaju already has a partner, Mako, who seems to be observing him. Tamaki proposes that Fujita should pair up Mako to practice with her since he can get a chance to dance as a couple. He agrees, and Mako comments that she has not danced with anyone other than her brother. Sengoku decides to help them both out, especially when Tamaki threatens to beat him into a pulp, and for starters, Fujita asks Mako to hold her hand. He holds her similar to how he held Shizuku before, so Sengoku adjusts his hand by putting it on Mako's back instead. She reveals that she isn't wearing a plot armor, which makes Fujita even more nervous, and Sengoku then explains different types of holds and how both partners connect with each other. He even makes them chest their torsos to connect them, and as the music begins to play, Fujita tries to lead by dancing to the tempo. He makes weird mechanical movements only which don't please Sengoku, so he pushes them both together. They end up falling on the floor, but at the last second, Fujita turns them both around so that he falls on the floor and Mako just lands on top of him. Tamaki scolds Sengoku for acting like a hormonal teenager, and even Gaju laughs at Fujita, especially as he recalls how Fujita also fell during his waltz dance at the competition. Afterwards, Fujita changes his clothes, and he wonders what he is doing wrong since he has always wanted to have a partner. He then comes across Shizuku telling the others that she doesn't care about Kiyoharu anymore since he doesn't share anything about his injuries or his troubles with her. She complains to Sengoku that she would have withdrawn if he had told her about Kiyoharu's leg, and that he probably wanted to get him suspended on purpose to help him out, but he didn't even consult her. She whines about not being able to trust anyone anymore, and Gaju takes this moment to announce that he is taking Shizuku away. Fujita keeps thinking about Kiyoharu's words in his class, and he doesn't budge even when his teacher calls him out. He wonders whether Kiyoharu wanted him to keep guys like Gaju away from Shizuku. After school, Sengoku picks up and takes him to a park where he tells him to pair up with Mako since Shizuki is acting out by pairing up with Gaju. He argues with him that Mako must have many other guys she can pair up with. Mako tells him that she asked Sengoku to ask him and that she wants to pair up with him, so Fujita takes her hands like a baddie and accepts her offer. Sengoku tells him that he will let him redo his practice, and he tells Mako to do the dance like he told her. He explains to Fujita that Mako won't move at all, so Fujita has to lead her and has to direct all of her moves. Mako assures him that he was able to save her from falling by predicting her movements so he can lead her in dancing as well, and Sengoku spews some Buddha-level dancing assurance as well, which suddenly motivates Fujita. He begins making his moves as he guides Mako on the ground, and soon he begins smoothly gliding with her as he keeps thinking about her movement and in which direction she wants to go. They do a sequence together, and afterwards Mako starts to cry, so Sengoku reveals that Gaju has told her that he will only dance with her when she gets better than Shizuku in dancing. Mako declares that she will train harder, while Fujita decides to beat some sense into Gaju through their couple dance. Gaju announces to everyone about pairing up with Shizuku and that he plans to participate in a tournament after New Year's, so they should all come to cheer him on. Sengoku pushes Fujita in front of him, and Fujita then challenges him to a duel in an informal Tenpei Cup, which is going to be hosted by a ballroom dancing fan. Sengoku tells him that he doesn't have time to waste on such cups, so Fujita asks him whether he will return back to his original couple if he and Mako win at the competition. Gaju headbutts Fujita and asks Mako whether she really thinks they can beat him, but when she doesn't reply to him, he yells at her to stop being so spineless. They keep arguing about the Tenpei Cup, so Sengoku tells Gaju how Tenpei Cup has 4 events and how the finale is designed, which makes him realize that Sengoku wants him to participate in the match too. He agrees to compete with them, and he even comments that he couldn't bring out his full potential by being paired with Mako. Afterwards, he and Shizuku practice a basic quick-step routine in which they seem to suit perfectly with each other, and Gaju's movement seems even more dynamic with Shizuki, which Mako notices as well. Sengoku explains that Mako is short while Gaju has long limbs and a tall dancer body, due to which he couldn't flexibly use his movements and was restricted even though he is brimming with raw talent. He then counsels Fujita and Mako that they need to add a bit of flashiness to their quickstep, since the judge of Tenpei likes flashiness. He tells them that quickstep can be full of twists and turns, which makes it the most thrilling dance of the day. He then gives them a demo by showing them a variation quickstep routine with Tamaki, and Gaju comments that they can never do such a complex routine. He also notices that Sengoku is giving them a private lesson, which he never does, while Tamaki tells the others that Sengoku led her on the dance floor since she didn't even know the steps. Sengoku guides Mako while Fujita recalls all of his steps in his mind. He then notes them all down mentally and starts dancing with Mako using the same steps as Sengoku. As he makes Mako turn, he suddenly collides with Gaju's pair, due to which he and Mako get thrown towards the wall. Sengoku tells him that it was his fault since he doesn't know how the floor works. Sengoku takes him and Mako to the largest dancing practice ballroom, where the floor is filled with people, and Fujita keeps colliding with the dancers there as he dances with Mako. He wonders how he managed to dance at the tournament, and he comes to the realization that quickstep is more like hurricane compared to a waltz. After successfully failing, Sengoku shows him the dance floor again and tells him that all the players are dancing in the clockwise direction to avoid traffic. He tells him that he collided with Gaju in the studio because he was not following the proper direction, and he advises them that he should keep dancing even if he bumps into other dancers. Gaju keeps up his practice with Shizuku, and he notices that she keeps improving and adapting quickly to his routine, and that her body is also mature for a 15 years old. He recalls how 6 years ago he saw Shizuku for the first time and decided to become her partner from the very first sight. In the present, he thinks that now that he has become her partner, the next step is marriage for them. Fujita arrives home and notices blisters on his feet, which makes him realize that he has been dancing a lot. He also notices that his dad is on the phone with Mako, so he takes the phone from him, and Mako apologizes to him for dancing so slow since she has blisters on her feet. She tells him that she has never danced this much in standard form, and she asks him whether it's hard to practice with her, so he assures her that he had a lot of fun practicing with her. He explains that he wants things to go back the way they were with Shizuki and Kiyoharu, and she also tells him that she could feel he was looking out for her a lot at the dance floor. She tells him that Sengoku must have chosen such a complex routine for them because he believes in him, so he should also think about himself more. Fujita wonders why his peers are interested in a loser like him, and he thanks Mako for putting him on the floor. The next day he dances with Mako on the dance floor, and he slowly starts to get a hang of the routine that Sengoku made for him. He keeps dancing even when he collides with the others, and Sengoku notices that he has the face of a dancer. At the Tenpei Cup tournament, Fujita thanks Sengoku for giving him his old tailcoat that he even got tailored for him, and Sengoku notices a bunch of scratches on Fujita's neck, so he asks him about it. Fujita recalls how he tried to shave the nape of his neck to make it shiny like the other dancers, but he kept getting cuts. He tells Sengoku that he wants to create a proper silhouette, which makes him think that he is pretty serious too. Mako then steps out of the dressing tent to reveal a yellow dress, which leaves Fujita stunned even though he was the one who had selected it for her. He remains transfixed by her, so she goes back inside the tent in embarrassment. Shizuku also walks past the dancers who stare after her, and Gaju tells Fujita to stop staring holes at his partner. Fujita reminds him of their deal related to the tournament, so Gaju suggests that they should both stay together as partners since they are both so stubborn. Fujita realizes that Gaju doesn't have inkling about Mako's feelings, so once again he decides to teach him a lesson, while Gaju assures him that his pair will come out as the winners. The tournament begins as the host welcomes all of them and reveals that the main host, called Tenpei, is running a bit late. The first round of waltz begins soon, and Sengoku asks Fujita where Mako is since they have to dance in the third heat. Sengoku also tells him about the events of the tournament and how 7 couples will go to the finale from 44 couples. The second heat begins, in which Shizuku's pair starts to dance, and all the judges give them scores right off the bat, which makes Sengoku comments that the judges know their pair is good judging by their silhouette alone. Fujita starts to get nervous, so Sengoku slaps him and tells him to snap out of it. Mako then runs up to him with a fake chest, and for the third heat, they both take the floor for the waltz dance. Mako takes his hand smoothly, making Fujita think that she's an experienced dancer after all, but he realizes that they both must be nervous. They begin dancing on the floor and recall Sengoku's advice that they just need to score basic points in all 3 matches other than the quickstep to move forward. Fujita and Mako keep it up, while Gaju comments that they are not at a level to compete since they are just doing a beginner's routine, and Shizuku tells him that they seem to be getting better. Shizuku tells Gaju that he should focus on Fujita since Kiyoharu also did his insane tango dance after getting inspired by Fujita, and Gaju notices Fujita's expression, which pisses him off. The waltz finishes, and Fujita apologizes to Sengoku for not listening to his advice since he also did choreography inspired by Kiyoharu's waltz. He tells him that he wanted to relive his happy moments that he faced in the Mikasa Cup, and Sengoku tells him that he would have passed him if he were the judge. The next event, which is the tango, begins, and Fujita notices that Gaju seems extra fired up as he snaps his head right and left. He starts to get nervous, so Sengoku tells him that he's tired of his mood swings. Their own tango begins, in which both of them dance with mechanical frozen movements, but just then Mako's chest pads somehow slip from her dress and slide to the floor, which make all the other dancers slip and fall. Fujita and Mako maintain their stride and continue to dance with poise, due to which they manage to pass the first round. For the second round, both couples participate in the first event, which is the slow foxtrot, but Fujita notices that nobody is even paying attention to them. Rather, they remain focused on Gaju's pair, which takes all the highlights. For the final round, Fujita and Mako head to the floor for quickstep, and following Sengoku's advice, they run to secure an empty spot in front of the judges, but to their surprise, Gaju's pair does the same, due to which they both collide. Gaju immediately loses temper and starts arguing with him, while Fujita continues to dance smoothly with Mako even after their collision. In the meanwhile, Kiyoharu rides with his mother, who taunts him about his introverted nature, while they both head to the hot springs, which will help heal his leg. After the quickstep event, Gaju argues with Fujita about getting in his way, and he yells at both of them to drop out of the event. The argument escalates between the two siblings, and Gaju tells Mako that she can never become Shizuku, so she slaps him and runs away. Shizuku also overhears the last time, and she tells Fujita to not underestimate him. Gaju then taunts him that he can never do proper dancing if he is just imitating Kiyoharu. Afterwards, the host of the event, Tenpei, arrives along with a special chief guest who is the former champion Hayao Marisa, who is also Kiyoharu's mom. For the semi-finals, the first waltz dance begins, and out of nowhere Kiyoharu joins Sengoku in the audience. Fujita wonders after his dance where Sengoku is, while the next heat of the waltz begins, in which Gaju's pair also participates. Sengoku tells Kiyoharu to lay low so that he isn't spotted by anyone else, and when he notices Kiyoharu's angry expression, he tells him that he can explain. The waltz dance finishes up, and Shizuku tells Gaju that she can barely keep up with his big movements, but he thinks they should show off more to Marisa. The next dance of tango begins, and Fujita vows to show everyone everything that he has learned so far, so he gives his best. He keeps overthinking about his performance after the dance too, while the next event of slow foxtrot dance begins, in which they both also participate. Kiyoharu asks Sengoku how Fujita's stamina is and whether he can dance 4 consecutive dances in a competition. On the dance floor, Fujita feels like his stomach is cramping up and Mako notices that his poise is starting to break too. Sengoku realizes he has messed up since he has not given any advice to Fujita, and he recalls how he even used to lose weight by doing consecutive dancing. He thinks that Fujita will try to pull off all the moves even when his body can't physically bear it. Kiyoharu asks Sengoku why he put a beginner on the dance floor, and just then, the dance finishes so Fujita sits on the floor as he is out of stamina. He even struggles to open his water bottle, and he thinks about how amazing all the dancers are since they can keep dancing smoothly. He tells himself to give his best performance in the quickstep, and as they both head to the dance floor, Sengoku yells at them from the audience that they shouldn't do the variation that he choreographed for them. Fujita starts bawling his eyes out as he thinks about why he can't be good enough and why he didn't start dancing before. He breaks down in tears while Sengoku tries to console him, and Kiyoharu also walks up to him in his Ninja Turtle stride. He tells Fujita that he can never beat Gaju in his current condition and that he is facing the wrong opponent since he should focus on beating Shizuku first in his current condition. Afterwards, Gaju and Shizuku dance quickstep while Sengoku asks Kiyoharu why he would say such a thing about his own partner, so Kiyoharu explains that Mako only needs to beat Shizuku in order for their pair to win. The quickstep dance finishes so Gaju rushes over to Kiyoharu and starts beefing with him out of nowhere. Sengoku decides to stay out of their petty arguments, and just then Marisa also walks over to them. He tells Marisa to take her son and leave while she comments that she could see his influence on Fujita's dancing, so she knew they were both connected somehow. She asks him why he has decided to coach Fujita, which is rare for him, and they throw petty taunts at each other. She also tells Shizuku to do her best, and Kiyoharu advises Fujita to become Mako's frame. Later, Fujita hesitates to look at the semi-final results because he knows that he messed up in his quickstep routine, and Mako tells him that she couldn't properly follow him either during the dance. He argues that it's his job to make her follow, and they both keep defending each other while Sengoku yells at them to just look at the results. Tenpei comments to Marisa that the competition has become tense now that she is here, and they all discuss the performance of both Gaju and Fujita's pair. Tenpei comments that Fujita seemed to be dancing very carefully, but he gave him a pass to the finale before he even knew it. Fujita's pair comes 7th in position, which makes them really happy, but Sengoku advises them to celebrate after they have won. Just then Shizuku walks by them, so Fujita runs after her like a lapdog, and he tells her not to worry about Kiyoharu's words since he probably wants her to be separated from Gaju. She replies that Kiyoharu is going to become stronger in future, and that she may be left behind, but she will still dance her best since Kiyoharu is watching. She walks away, and Fujita asks Mako how he can win against Shizuku. He tells her that he will become her frame from now on and won't get in her way, so she requests him to make her bloom. Fujita and Mako rush back to the venue where Sengoku scolds them since he thought they had run away. Sengoku wonders why Fujita seems out of breath, and he also advises him to pace himself in the finals. He asks him whether he knows what frame means, and Fujita tells him that he will become Mako's frame. The entrees for the final dance get announced, and Fujita's pair is called to dance on the second number, right after which Gaju's pair will dance. Sengoku explains that the Tenpei Cup final consists of solo dances, so they will get a chance to dance on the floor by themselves without another competitor overshadowing them. Fujita asks him whether there are different types of dancing in solo, so Sengoku tells him that he made a special variation of quickstep keeping in mind their solo dancing. Just then, Marisa announces that the dancing will be on waltz rather than quickstep, which makes Sengoku curses her for changing things up at the last minute. The final solo dance begins as the first couple starts to dance on the floor while Sengoku advises Fujita to not do Kiyoharu's variation at any cost. He notices that Fujita seems spooked out of his mind, and as the first dance comes to a close, Mako tells Fujita that she will trust his dancing, which brings him back to earth. They both go on the floor, and the audience starts to notice that Fujita seems too stiff and nervous. Fujita thinks about how he is feeling cold all over his body and how dancing will make him hot. The music begins, which snaps him back into a fiery mode, and he does a natural spin first. Gaju comments that he is only doing basic moves, which is killing the mode, and just then, Fujita makes 2 whisks in a row as the tempo of his dancing changes, and he smoothly slides in one of Kiyoharu's moves into his dance as he rushes toward the judges and does a double turning lock. Fujita reminds himself that he doesn't want to perform like the semi-finals, and the audience applauds for them. Fujita wonders what he should do next as he moves to basic moves next, and the people in the audience wonder why they were clapping even though the moves are simple with special variations put in here and there. Fujita does one more move with Mako which makes Shizuku realize that he is actually imitating her and including her and Kiyoharu's moves into his dancing routine. Fujita also apologizes to Shizuki in his mind since he is straight off ripping her dance moves, and Sengoku comes to realize that both he and Mako were probably practicing this routine before the match, due to which he seemed so out of breath. Fujita continues to put unique moves into his routine as they both dance around the floor, while Sengoku thinks it is rare for a couple to change their composition just before their dance. Kiyoharu also enjoys their dance, and Marisa wonders whether others are starting to realize that a ton of information is being exchanged between Mako and Fujita just by dancing alone. She also thinks about how dancing consists of a leader leading the other partner who has to follow in his steps, and how Fujita is perfectly doing his job as a leader even though a lot of his moves are weak. Gaju wonders whether it is really Mako who is on the floor, since she always used to be so timid, but now she is practically shining on the floor. He recalls how he used to scold her after their practice sessions, and that she was never clear about the kind of lead she wanted, due to which he always felt like he was dancing alone. In the past, he keeps asking her what she wants to do in dancing, but she never replies properly. As Mako continues dancing, the people in the audience whisper that she is too good for Fujita, while Kiyoharu thinks about how good of a silhouette she has, which is probably the result of a lot of work she has done, and how she was always shadowed by Gaju. Sengoku wonders how Fujita and Mako interpreted the concept of a flower, and a frame in which the male lead is supposed to act like a frame for the female who symbolizes a flower. Their dance continues, and everyone's eyes keep getting drawn to Mako, who is shining on the dance floor. Mako wonders whether Gaju is watching her now, and Tenpei also starts to wonder how he should even judge the leader when he keeps focusing on the partner. Marisa concludes that rather than the normal concept of flower and the frame, they are going beyond by making Mako bloom as a flower. Finally, the dance comes to an end as Mako blooms to her fullest, and everyone applauds for them. They rush towards Sengoku in happiness, while Gaju's pair heads to the floor for their dance. In the past, Gaju's mom requests him to go to dance class with Mako because she wants to go with her brother, but Gaju refuses to go since he doesn't think it's an alpha male thing to do. Later, when he is playing football with his friends, Mako keeps stalking him, and he tells her that his friends will make fun of him if he dances with her. He walks back home with his friend after playing soccer and comes across Mako sneaking inside a dance studio, so he follows her inside. He sees a couple dancing, and Mako asks him again to dance with her since he is the only one she wants to hold hands with. She somehow convinces him, so they both join a dance studio, but soon enough he gets sick of all the practice. He whines about how dancing is even more strenuous than soccer, but he still decides to be stubborn about it by learning it more. Soon they both come second in a junior dancing competition in which Kiyoharu and Shizuku come first, and an adult compliments his skills by saying that he will become a great dancer one day. In the present, Gaju's pair takes the stage and begins dancing on waltz. Gaju realizes that he is grinning like an idiot, and that he never had this much fun when he was dancing with Mako. Gaju recalls how people used to talk behind his back that Mako was always pulling him down, and his teacher even suggested he change partners since they continue like this. Gaju keeps thinking about Mako, and suddenly he forgets Shizuki's timing in their dance, due to which their footwork starts to mismatch. Shizuku notices this too, while Kiyoharu thinks Gaju is an idiot for blocking Shizuku's path. Gaju starts to panic since he cannot lead anymore, and Sengoku comments the judges have picked on his fault even if the general audience doesn't notice. Their dance finishes, and afterwards Gaju tears up like a toddler. He apologizes to Shizuku for tensing up during the match, and he tells Fujita that he messed up because of his dance. He then punches himself to refocus, and Shizuku tells him that they will be fine if they rehearse their remaining dances. They both begin to rehearse, while Sengoku comments that Gaju and Shizuku seem to be a better pair, and Mako replies to him that she still wants to win the match to pair up with him again. Sengoku gives them a pep talk that they should give it their all for the group dance since it may be their last dance together. All the couples then head to the floor for the group dance, and the first song of tango begins. Both Gaju and Fujita's pair give it their best, which makes the audience notice that they seem really passionate about dancing. After the match, Shizuku wonders how Mako was able to keep up with Gaju's long steps, and she tells herself that she is causing everyone trouble by pairing up with Gaju. She recalls when Kiyoharu told him in junior high that because she always practices by herself, he considers her a partner as well as a rival. She realizes that he stepped into the next phase during the Mikasa Cup tango performance, and that Fujita was the one who fired him. The next dance of slow foxtrot begins, which focuses on slow performance, and the judges notice that Shizuku is actually holding the performance together by making a romantic face while holding Gaju all together. Fujita realizes that everyone seems transfixed on Gaju's pair instead of anyone else, and one of the judges even drops his pen because he is too focused on Shizuku's appeal. Sengoku also thinks that Shizuku has managed to bring out Gaju's potential even more, and as the dance finishes, Fujita thinks about how awesome Shizuku actually is. Shizuku notices that Kiyoharu seems really angsty in the audience, which makes her realize that she has managed to fire him up. Mako asks Fujita whether he is tired, and she tells him that since he has been planning the floor composition for all the dances, they should just focus on dancing to their fullest for their last dance. All the couples head to the floor for the last dance of Quickstep, which is a signature dance for Tenpei Cup, and Fujita thinks about how he can dance according to Sengoku's variation now that he isn't tired. He keeps making signs to Sengoku to allow him to dance his variation, so Sengoku tells him to give his best. The dance begins and Fujita gives a series of hops and jumps. At one moment, they almost crash into Gaju's pair, but Gaju skillfully slides past him. Gaju does a routine which makes the audience applaud for him endlessly, and Sengoku even thinks that he is being very cocky. Fujita also notices how he is taking the entire floor, so he reminds himself to focus on his own dance and to properly do Sengoku's dance variation. Fujita and Mako give a top-tier performance when suddenly Fujita's leg tenses up and his posture suddenly becomes less steady. Mako and Sengoku notice it immediately, while Tenpei Judge wonders why Fujita's poise is breaking. He realizes that Fujita must have really been a beginner, and Gaju's pair then swings past them. Gaju comments in the midst of his dance that Fujita's routine really seems to be swinging him around, while he himself gives such a poised performance that even the other dancers keep cheering them on. They wonder how such an awful dancer like Fujita could even get to the finale, and Marisa also thinks Fujita's movements are starting to become an eyesore for the judges, especially because of his variations. She thinks Sengoku is a failure as a coach if he cannot even teach his students properly, while Sengoku recalls how he used to scold Fujita when his feet would cramp up. He would advise them dance is an art, so they need a moment to catch the attention of the audience, because of which he choreographed the variation of them. Fujita and Mako do a sequence of fast-paced steps and jump over to Marisa's side, which makes the audience applaud for them. Tenpei wonders why Fujita's pair keeps enchanting everyone even though Fujita is an awful dancer, and why he even passed him in the semi-finals. Fujita reminds himself that he wants to show everyone his exciting routine, so he and Mako jump over to Tenpei's side with a huge smile on their faces. The audience also starts to get excited by their quick jumps and turns, while Tenpei comes to the realization that he likes Fujita's pair because they really dance through their emotions. The audience starts to clap for them in rhythm, and even Gaju starts to smile when he sees Fujita's little stupid dumb smiling face. He scolds himself for falling for Fujita's smiling face, and he gives an even flashier performance as he jumps with Shizuku on the floor. The whole of the audience divides their attention between both Gaju and Fujita's pair, while Sengoku and Kiyoharu think that they really want to dance as well. Both the pairs give their final best, and finally the dance comes to end. The dancers all bow and head off the floor. Both Gaju and Fujita collapse against the wall, and Gaju tells Fujita that he is going to let them win in a million years. The judges discuss that the Quickstep was the most exciting dance in the history of the Tenpei Cup, and they also ask Marisa which pair did she rank first. The host calls everyone to announce results, and Sengoku asks Fujita which rank he thinks he will get. Fujita recalls all of his performance, and soon it gets announced that Gaju and Shizuku are the winners of the Tenpei Cup. They both head to the floor after Gaju does a wild cheer, and the host starts calling other pairs up, making Fujita realize that he wasn't even close to winning. He tells Sengoku in tears that he was really happy when he got all the applause, even though he has been thinking that he is a poor dancer, and the applause even made him think that maybe he can win. Fujita's pair gets the last and 7th position, and they head to the floor where he shakes hands with Gaju. Tenpei himself gives trophies to each pair, and Sengoku thinks that Fujita cannot even with his current skills at this stage. Mako tells Fujita not to give up since there's another award left, which is called the Ballroom Queen Award, given to the female dancer who shined the brightest on the floor. The award goes to Mako finally, and Gaju starts to shout why Shizuku wasn't selected, but Shizuku shuts him up. Fujita and Mako endlessly thank Tenpei for the Ballroom Queen Award, and Mako thanks Fujita for such an award. They keep thanking each other, while Shizuku thinks that Fujita has managed to make Mako outshine more than her. Tenpei tells Fujita to keep it up, and afterwards Sengoku tells Gaju to switch his pair up since Mako has won. Shizuku comments that she had completely forgotten about the deal, and she asks Mako whether she can get revenue. Mako agrees and then drags Gaju away to head home. The Tenpei Cup finally comes to an end and Shizuku cries in the washroom afterwards because she lost. Sengoku tells Fujita to go home and he tells him that he has fallen in love with dancing even though he previously joined for another reason. Fujita arrives home and his dad tells him that he should focus on preparing for entrance exams too rather than investing all of his time in his hobbies. Fujita gets to studying and later his name comes up in the list of the entrance exams for the high school that he was aiming for. After joining high school, Fujita walks to his school for the first time and hopes to make new friends because he is a pathetic loser who's afraid of being alone. His classroom teacher tells everyone to introduce themselves to the class and to mention one thing they like, so Fujita tells everyone he likes to dance. He explains that he likes competitive ballroom dancing, and after he is done, one of his classmates, Chinatsu, tells him that he has a really lame hobby. Later, a group of boys take him behind the building and ask him to buy snacks for them because he looks like an easy pathetic target to them. Fujita ends up buying the wrong drinks for them, so one of the guys walks towards him to beat him up. Just then Gaju runs to the scene and beats the crap out of the bully boys, which makes them run away in fear. Fujita asks him why he is here while Gaju yells at him that he didn't expect to see his face in the school. He yells at him again that because of him Mako put on a plot armor, and he asks him whether he did anything with her, which Fujita immediately refuses. Gaju reveals that he has transferred to Tokyo because it has more dance studios and that he commutes from his uncle's house now. He also scolds him for being such a wimp in front of the other boys and asks him for his cell phone so that they can both stay in touch. Later, Fujita tells Shizuku about Gaju and she reminds him that she hasn't met him since the Tenpei Cup either, since he managed to separate them. She tells him Kiyoharu's leg is healing and that she was shocked when she heard about his injury. She also apologizes to him for dragging him to the Tenpei Cup, and he yaps about how he was lucky to be on the same floor as her. She then thanks him because she was able to perform better in the finale because of him, and Tamaki tells both of them that a DVD has arrived from Judge Tenpei related to their performance. They both decide to watch it together, and Fujita notices that his hold is a mess while his knees seem to be shaking during his performance. He keeps cringing at his performance, and Shizuku reminds him that he can still learn even if he is starting late. She reveals that she and Kiyoharu have postponed their trip abroad and that she can't wait for him to climb up the rankings so that they can compete again. She tells him that she wants to stand on the same floor as him in the upcoming Grand Sports Grand Prix, and that she won't wait for him for more than a year. The next day, Gaju abuses the bullies with a passion and afterwards tells Fujita that he needs to find a partner if he wants to enter into a competition. Fujita wonders how he can ever find a partner, and just then Tamaki informs them through a message that Sengoku has returned from his overseas training and that he's going to be performing on the weekend. They both rush to watch him on the weekend, and they also overhear the people in the audience gossiping how Sengoku failed to qualify for the ranking matches last year and how he had a fight with his partner Hongo. The quick-step event begins, in which Sengoku and Hongo enter the floor. They give an over-the-top performance, and the pair even jumps near Fujita when Sengoku notices that his students have also come to watch the match. After the match, Gaju comments that Sengoku is a world-level dancer while Sengoku walks past them, and he tells Fujita to watch him closely. For the final round, the music for the waltz performance begins and Sengoku's pair takes the stage again. They start their performance, and this time Fujita keeps his eyes plastered on them as he takes in every movement and every turn and spin. He cannot believe such an awesome person can ever coach him, and Gaju comments that Sengoku isn't giving even half of his performance. Just then, Sengoku slides Hongo on the floor in a smooth movement, and Fujita becomes shocked to witness how both the partners' bodies are wavering and blending into each other like shadows. The dance finishes soon, and Fujita realizes that he feels seasick because of the intensity of the dance. After their performance, Hongo slaps Sengoku and they both start beating each other up as they argue about their performance. Sengoku then introduces Fujita to Hongo, and she smooches him because she finds him really adorable like a puppy. In the final performance, Sengoku's pair outperforms everyone else and finally wins the competition. As they head backstage, hordes of girls rush after them, and out of nowhere his classmate Chinatsu also collides with him in the crowd. Chinatsu tells him not to talk to her at class and walks away. The next day she starts conversing with him herself, and she fangirls about the Sengoku pair and how awesome they were. When Fujita points out that she must like dancing a lot, she calls the sport creepy and turns around. Afterwards, Fujita whines about this incident with a fellow dancer Jinbo, who tells him that he even got into dancing to get girls. He tells him that usually dancers get their partner through their teachers or through some connections, and that they try out dancing to see if the partners can click. Jinbo points out that Bamba has trouble finding partners too, and they notice Bamba, who has suddenly transformed from a cow into a skinny chick. Bamba tells them she has got matchmaking the next day, and later Fujita shares this gossip with Gaju. He mentions Sengoku's name as well, so after school, Chinatsu follows him to the dance studio so that she can meet up with the Sengoku pair herself. She tells him that she really wanted to meet up with Sengoku's pair once, and just then Sengoku and Hongo arrive at the studio. Hongo teases Fujita for getting a girlfriend while Chinatsu just hides behind Fujita because she is shy. At the studio, Sengoku tells Fujita that he can try competing in the Grand Prix next year too, while the rest of the dancers including Gaju have gone to Osaka to participate this time. Fujita thinks about how he doesn't even have a partner yet, and Hongo asks him whether he wants her to check out his shadowing skills. Sengoku suggests bringing Chinatsu along to their practice too, and somehow Hongo starts to teach Chinatsu how to practice. Hongo then asks Fujita to practice a couple dance with Chinatsu, and she walks away before anyone can refuse. Fujita steps forward to dance with her, and Chinatsu steps forward as well. She grabs him, and her holding style makes him realize that she has probably danced before. He asks her whether she is a dancer, so she steps away from him in embarrassment. She begins walking away, so Fujita reminds her to get an autograph from Sengoku's pair. Surprisingly, she asks Hongo to autograph her magazine and to even give her a hug. Hongo gives her a very long hug, and afterwards Fujita asks her what she likes about Hongo, so she endlessly starts yapping about her qualities. He tells her to stop by the studio anytime she wants to dance, and that he needs a practice dance partner as well. She gets embarrassed, and after telling him that she doesn't want to dance again, she walks away. She wonders whether Fujita was hitting on her, and after a while she wonders what the hell she is even doing. Later, Gaju calls Fujita and informs him that Kiyoharu is competing in the competition too. He explains that Kiyoharu seems to have gotten even better in his dancing, and that he got the first position by just doing basic moves to show the judges that they are working from the basic level. He tells him that Kiyoharu wants him to know that he cannot wait to compete with him soon, and Gaju tells him that he can still participate in the Grand Prix too, which is a year-long competition. Tamaki later explains to Fujita that the Grand Prix is held 5 times a year across Japan, and that he needs to improve his ranking by competing in novice matches if he wants to participate. Hongo then suggests that he invite Chinatsu for a practice dance so that they can both become a couple. The next day, Fujita keeps noticing that Chinatsu has features that resemble a dancer, and her movements are also very refined like a dancer. After class, he tries to ask her to become his practice dance partner, but he notices that her friends are calling her to go to karaoke with them, so he hesitates. Chinatsu asks him whether he wants her to become his practice dance partner, and she agrees. She fetches shoes from her house and asks him how long he has been dancing for, so he informs her that he has been dancing for 7 months. Later at the studio, she cannot believe that he only knows 4 standard dance types, and when he tries to practice with her, he is unable to lead her properly, due to which they both can't dance properly. They try again, but Fujita is unable to lead her, and she even asks him whether he has even danced with a girl before. He becomes angry to hear this, and Sengoku's pair stops them from arguing. They tell the pair to switch their roles so that Fujita is now following Chinatsu, and Sengoku comments to Chinatsu that she probably doesn't have a lot of experience in following anyone. Hongo shows Fujita how to pose as a woman, and Chinatsu then starts to lead him as she makes him dance around the floor. He realizes that her lead is pretty simple to follow, and to everyone's surprise, she even starts leading him into poses that he has never even learnt before. Fujita practices in a studio group session with a random girl because he cannot believe Chinatsu can lead so well, but even he cannot lead properly. Tamaki shows him a dance video in which 2 girls are paired as a couple, and she explains that Chinatsu was probably in a similar kind of pair where she had to lead a lot, and that a lot of girls want to dance when they are young, due to which they end up pairing together even though they cannot enter adult competitions like this. Fujita then rushes off to his part-time job because he wants to pay for his own dance lessons. Chinatsu packs her accessories, and she comes across her old heels which have worn out the base. She reminds herself that she doesn't want to dance anymore, so she shouldn't care about her heels, and even her mom reminds her that she should give away all her heels to somebody else since they left the dance studio on her request. She hears music on TV which she thinks resembles samba music, and she turns off the TV so that she doesn't have to hear any music that reminds her of dancing. Fujita stays on his toes at his job, and his manager finds him really considerate as well. The manager's daughter Akira asks him what sport he does, and when he reveals that he does competitive dancing, she informs him that she does it as well, and that she has lately been having trouble with her new partner. Just then, Chinatsu arrives at the cafe off the shoes for Akira's little sister, and Akira starts throwing digs at her that her current partner sucks compared to her. Fujita realizes that Chinatsu and Akira used to be a pair in junior days, while they both keep arguing as Akira accuses Chinatsu of not being feminine enough and how she could never follow anyone. She tells her to come cheer for her at the Grand Prix, and Chinatsu tells her that she cannot come cheer for her since she will be entering the Grand Prix herself with Fujita and that together they will defeat her. Fujita keeps signaling to her that he doesn't want to do it, but she tells him to come to the studio tomorrow and leaves. The next day they both officially become a couple and start practicing together. Soon enough they enroll in a novice match so that they can start improving their ranks, and as they head to their match, Chinatsu thinks about how she wants to see Akira's sullen face. Chinatsu tells him that they need to come in the second position out of the 12 pairs if they want to enter D rank. She changes her clothes in the midst of everyone, and out of nowhere Akira also comes across them. She tells them that she is also participating today, and she then drags Chinatsu to make her reveal her dress in which she looks exotic. Akira's partner calls her, so she rushes off with him to the floor, and they discover that Akira is actually participating in the B-class rank with a partner who seems really good in dancing even though she was dissing him a few days ago. Their own novice match begins, in which Chinatsu tells him right off the bat that they are going to be moving more dynamically than before. They begin dancing and Chinatsu keeps dragging him with her while he struggles to keep up, and he recalls how they had to practice so much just to perfect their timings, but she is messing up everything now for the sake of showing off to Akira. Akira tells her partners about Chinatsu being her ex-partner and how she has a specific way of dancing set in her mind already. Akira cheers loudly for Chinatsu, due to which she becomes even more angsty and starts pushing Fujita with her pelvis. Their dance finishes, and in the next match she does the same thing as she keeps forcing him to make moves. Afterwards she apologizes to him for acting like a brat, and she makes an excuse that they both cannot exactly dance like how they practiced before. Surprisingly they qualify for the final, and she tells him that she will be following him in the final match, while he believes that she is lying to him. As their dance begins he decides to follow her as the leader so that their movements seem synchronized to everyone else, and soon he keeps picking up her signals and moving according to her movements. Akira notices that Chinatsu's movements have become even more dynamic than before, and soon their dance finishes. She tells him that they will probably get the first position, but to their surprise another couple led by a guy called Kyujumiya gets the first position. The first position pair gives an honor dance while Marisa strolls towards Fujita and tells him that her students got the first position. She compliments Chinatsu's dancer-like body, and she asks Fujita whether he is making the girl lead on purpose. Fujita and Chinatsu tell Gaju that they came second in their novice match, due to which they have D rank now and can participate in other competitions as well. He asks them where they plan to compete next, but Fujita asks Chinatsu whether they can practice separately for some time, and she agrees. Later he heads to Kiyoharu's house as he recalls Marisa's words telling him that he shouldn't let a girl lead his movement. He comes across Kiyoharu himself at his home, and he leads him into his mom's studio, which is all fancy and filled with pretty people. He tells Kiyoharu about his latest trouble, that he cannot lead his partner who is a really good dancer, and Kiyoharu points towards Kyujumiya's couple who is being coached by Marisa, and who also won the novice match. He reveals that Kyujumiya may be the exact opposite of him and that the couple retired once due to an injury, but they are back now. Fujita feels like his eyes keep getting drawn to the leader Kyujumiya, and afterwards he asks Marisa why she made a comment on him. She gives him the example of Kyujumiya, who can make up for his partner's lack of experience through his exceptional leadership, and Fujita notices that Kyujumiya keeps scolding his partner for the little mistakes that she is making. Marisa asks Kyujumiya to practice dancing with Fujita once he is done and to act as his partner so that he can lead. Kiyoharu comments that he wants to dance with him instead, but Kyujumiya agrees. They both come face to face with each other, and Kyujumiya has to bend down because Fujita is a certified midget. Fujita starts to tell him what kind of dance they will do, but Kyujumiya just tells him to do whatever he wants to do. They begin dancing, and Kiyoharu tells Marisa that he was interested in dancing with him because he knows Fujita doesn't lead properly like typical leaders. Kyujumiya asks Fujita why he isn't leading him, and when Fujita argues with him that dance is supposed to be a cooperative effort, he calls him a loser. He then switches their roles on Marisa's permission and begins to lead him himself. He doesn't even ask him, rather he holds him firmly and forces him to move according to his variation, while Fujita is forced around like a maid in distress. Fujita comes to realize that he doesn't like this style of dancing at all, and Kyujumiya then finishes the dance because he finds it too boring. Kyujumiya heads off with his partner, and Marisa explains to Fujita that in actual competitions, the dancers are evaluated based on the leader's skills, not their partner's skills, and that it's only in the top rounds that both partners are equally evaluated. He finds this unfair, and Marisa tells him to stop hiding behind the girls if he wants to move forward in his dancing career. Later, Fujita watches Chinatsu practicing with Banba, who teaches her how to be more feminine, and he tells Chinatsu to trust him and to follow him. He realizes that she must be feeling responsible to make up for her partner's skills in her previous pair, and that he should take the reins from now on. In the Japan International competition, the reporters all pester Sengoku's pair, and he tells them to just focus on his performance. All of his students come to greet him as well, and he takes them to meet his rival, who is world number 3 best Latin dancer named Vasily. To everyone's surprise, Vasily just groped Sengoku's family jewels on meeting him, so Sengoku runs away from him in fear. Later, Sengoku pair comes third while Vasily's pair comes first, and Gaju comments how admirable it is that Sengoku is competing with world-class dancers so easily. They all walk home, and Fujita tells Sengoku that he plans to enroll in Hyoto Dance Academy, which is run by Marisa, and that Tamaki has also advised him to do the same since their own studio lacks the ability to train dancers, and since Sengoku is also usually busy as he is traveling abroad mostly. Sengoku tells him that Marisa is a good coach, so he will be fine there, and he doesn't say anything else, so Fujita just calls him his teachers and keeps walking. He even carries his luggage downstairs into the train because Marisa has instructed him to work out more. In the train, he notices that Sengoku keeps getting attention from the others because he has that aura. They depart soon, and Sengoku tells him to dance his heart out. Later, both Fujita and Chinatsu join the Hyoto Academy officially, and Marisa tells them that she won't go soft on them like Sengoku. She drills them during their practice and even tells Fujita to double his workout to strengthen his core and to increase his stamina. He tells her that he wants to enter the Grand Prix next month, but she explains to him that only B rank and above dancers have a chance at winning the Grand Prix, so he shouldn't focus on improving himself for now. Afterwards, he and Chinatsu secretly apply for Grand Prix and head to Shizuoka to participate in the competition. Chinatsu sticks Fujita's pair number on his jacket, and they both head to the floor for the first qualifying round. Fujita wonders where Kiyoharu and Gaju's pairs are, so Chinatsu tells him that they have all gone to Germany to participate in another competition, which makes Fujita realize that he is a brainless idiot for coming to the Grand Prix. For the waltz third heat, Chinatsu drags him to the floor where they see that Akira's pair as well as Kyujimiya's pairs are also participating in their heat. Their dance begins, and Fujita forces himself to focus on the music and their dance. He recalls Marisa's advice that they should move dynamically like a pendulum, but he still fails to perfectly sync his movement with Chinatsu despite their long practice hours. They both come close to Akira's pair, and Fujita dreads their interaction since he knows Chinatsu tends to become very excited whenever they face each other, but to his surprise, Chinatsu continues to dance as usual. Their dance finishes, and Akira asks them why they are participating since they only became D rank just last month. Chinatsu tells her that she came because of Fujita's requests, and for their next round, they dance on tango. Once again, Fujita recalls Marisa's advice that they should move their bodies according to the music and eat up their rhythm. They begin gliding smoothly while Kyujimiya's pair dances exceptionally as well. The audience notices that the infamous Kyujimiya's pair is dancing, who was rumored to have retired, and they also start to notice Fujita's notice because of their unique silhouette. Some time ago, Marisa had changed Fujita's holding style to make him extend his elbow out more, and Chinatsu's holding style as well to arch her back even more. They maintain their unique holding style in the current dance, and suddenly Chinatsu's heel slips on a feather that's lying on the floor. Instantly, Fujita recalls Marisa's advice that he needs to support her whenever Chinatsu is about to fall on the floor, so he swings Chinatsu around to stop her from falling. Suddenly, he feels like he is in control of both of them, and that Chinatsu's body has disappeared. Rather, he has extra limbs that he can control by himself. The dance finishes, and Fujita zones out so hard that he forgets to participate in the next dance, and Chinatsu has to snap him back into reality. They both withdraw from the tournament, and Fujita apologizes to Chinatsu for zoning out. They both head back to Tokyo, where they inform Marisa about their rebellious behavior, and she tells them that she already knows about it. She scolds them that she doesn't intend to teach dancers who don't have the will to fight. She tells them that she will make them in the next tournament, which will be decided by her, and she then asks them to come to Karuizawa for the whole next week. They both ride to Marisa's vacation home at Karuizawa with Kyujimiya's pair, where they also meet Kiyoharu's and Gaju's pair. Chinatsu also meets up with Mako, and the boys tell Fujita that they came straight to the vacation house after getting back from Germany. They ask him about his Grand Prix performance, so Chinatsu tells them that Fujita messed up, due to which they are both fighting. Later, Gaju shows Fujita the Grand Prix results, in which Fujita had scored full marks, and he comments that he would have won the first round if he hadn't withdrawn. Fujita wonders why he got such a high score when he didn't even dance that well, and he explains the weird feeling he got during his last dance, so Kiyoharu explains to him how he feels the same when he feels united with his partners. Fujita realizes that his mind only has to understand what a dancer being feels like, and in the other room the girls discuss what it's like to follow their leader. Just then Fujita barges in to ask Chainatsu to practice dancing with him, so she beats the crap out of him for not knocking on their door. She later tells him that she's a nervous wreck because of the two top amateur pairs who will watch their practice, as well as by Marisa's coaching, and Marisa calls them both inside. Marisa tells them that they are going to participate in the upcoming Tokyo Metropolitan Dance Competition of a class couples, and that they are already in a class couple judging by their latest Grand Prix scores. She tells them that she will let them compete in the Grand Prix if they win, and Kyujimiya asks her how they can manage to win since he is participating too. Fujita realizes that he is essentially doomed because of Kyujimiya and because of Chainatsu, who is fired up because she wants to defeat Akira in the same tournament. Later, when they are practicing tango, Marisa decides to put in some special variations, and they keep practicing even when the others go out to enjoy barbecue. They don't get their steps right, so they start arguing about their mismatched stops and about Fujita not being able to lead. Chainatsu then runs out of the studio and she yells at him in front of everyone that she doesn't understand him at all. Kiyoharu tells Fujita after the fight that they both don't trust each other's styles, which is their main problem. Marisa tells them that she is busy with Kyujimiya's pair, so Kiyoharu can help them sort out their problem. Chainatsu cries like a wuss in her too as she thinks about the upcoming competition, while Kiyoharu barges into her room and drags her back to the studio. He puts her together with Fujita and tells Shizuku that they are going to give them a demo of shadow dancing in which the follower closes her eyes. Shizuku then shadow dances with Kiyoharu, and she explains that the technique can help Chainatsu follow Fujita properly, since she will have to rely on all her other senses to follow his movements. They both give it a try but start arguing soon enough, and Kiyoharu and Marisa laugh at their lame attempts while Shizuku tries to advise them. They both try again, and this time Chainatsu feels really strange, as if whatever that's going to happen next is very scary, so she backs away. Kiyoharu notices that the problem may be with Fujita instead, so he suggests trying out something. Later, Shizuku comments that both of them may have different tempos in their mind when they are thinking of the same dance, and to show them, she and Kiyoharu close their eyes and imagine their dance in their minds. They open their eyes at the same time, meaning they had the same tempo in mind, but when Fujita and Chainatsu try out the same thing, they both open their eyes at different times, meaning they both have different rhythm and tempo in their mind. Afterwards, Fujita tells Kiyoharu in the hot spring that he cannot understand what he is saying, and the boys hear the squealing of the girls on the other side of the hot springs. Kiyoharu explains to Fujita that it's natural for Chainatsu to be stubborn since she was the leader before, and Marisa asks him from the other side how he feels about Chainatsu. In the meanwhile, Chainatsu discovers that Fujita has paired up with Mako before, so she asks her about their dancing, and Mako tells her that Fujita was a great leader with her. After they get out of the water, Kiyoharu lectures Fujita that Chainatsu probably cannot follow him because she cannot trust him fully, and he then asks him what kind of dancing he wants to do. The next day, Chainatsu keeps avoiding Fujita, so Gaju takes everyone to the town to do some exploring so that they can both also reconcile. They keep arguing on the way, and when they sit down to eat, Chainatsu even comments that Fujita and Mako seem to really be in sync since they are even ordering the same food. They both start arguing again, and Chainatsu runs off, so Mako follows after her. Kiyoharu tells Fujita that he has to face his own style of dancing soon, while Mako tries to assure Chainatsu that she paired up with Fujita because of some special circumstances. She tells her that she even envies her because she can compete with him on equal level, and Chainatsu starts yapping about how the dance world is unfair to women since the ranking is done based on the leader's skills. Mako tells her about her own sob story in which Gaju left her and how dancing with Fujita helped her regain her confidence back. Back at the house, Shizuku asks Fujita to practice dancing with her, and as they both head to the studio, she tells him that he can forget about competing with them in a year if it's really bothering him. He argues that he only wants to dance on the same floor as them to make a good impression on them. They then stretch, and Shizuku yaps endlessly about how she still remembers their waltz, and she even incorporates it into her dancing now. They both practice together, and Chainatsu then arrives at the studio, so Fujita asks her to dance with him and she agrees. Before the dance begins, she tells him that she will separate from him if they don't win the class match because of her, and she thinks about how there will be no other dancer like Fujita who will take her on. Fujita also realizes that he doesn't want to dance with anyone else, and once again they both start dancing. They keep arguing like a bunch of hormonal teenagers even when the camp comes to an end, but they keep getting better as well, and Marisa tells Kyujumiya that Fujita's pair is coming for them. They all head back to Tokyo, and soon they enter the Tokyo Metropolitan Tournament, which they have been practicing for. At the tournament, the dancers wait for the A-class match to happen, and Chainatsu draws eyebrows on Fujita's face as they both get prepared. They both head towards the floor where Chainatsu greets Akira too, and Fujita compliments her dress, which makes her look powerful. She comments that they are an unknown D-class pair right now, but from now on they are going to turn tables on everyone. The waltz first head begins, in which they both participate, and the judges notice among the horde of pairs that Fujita's pair has a nice expression and a nice hold, so they pass him to the next round. After their dance, Fujita notices his body is stiff, while Kyujumiya's pair takes the floor in second heat and gets applause from the others. Chainatsu comments that they may pass easily because of their basics and Fujita's holding skills. They participate in the tango first heat next, in which they crash with two more couples, and Fujita freezes up because he is pathetic like that. Chainatsu knees him hard, which gets him going, and they resume their tango steps. The judges start to notice them because of the crashing incident, and when they notice their smooth move, they all pass the couple to the next round. The audience also applauds for them, which Akira thinks is useless, and the next heat begins. She thinks that Fujita has changed, but he probably still cannot stand up to Chainatsu. In the meantime, Chainatsu scolds Fujita for freezing up, and she tells him that she won't go with him if he keeps getting overwhelmed, and that she's serious about the matches. Kiyoharu and Gaju lounge at the venue's cafeteria, and Shizuku calls them to inform them about Fujita's latest progress and how they are arguing after the dance. Kiyoharu comments that they will be fine if they have the energy to argue, and Gaju reminds him that he was supposed to break up their fighting in the first place. He argues back that Fujita's couple is past fighting, rather they debate their tactics now and decide what's best for them moving forward. They both head to the venue, and some reporters stop them on the way to take their pictures. They ask them whether they have come to cheer somebody on, but Kiyoharu comments that they have just come to see who will win. Fujita and Chainatsu get a full score in one of their rounds, so Fujita makes Chainatsu take his picture with the scoreboard like a certified nerd. Akira rushes over to him to fake fangirl over his skills, and she and Chainatsu begin beefing as usual. Chainatsu notices that Akira's dad has come along with her own full family too, which embarrasses her. Fujita asks Akira's partner whether his family has come too, so he reveals that he is keeping it a secret from his wife, who used to be a dancer before. Just then, his wife also joins the audience, and he starts to freak out on getting discovered. Chainatsu asks Fujita about his family, and when he answers that he hasn't told anyone about his dancing, she calls him a coward who keeps running away. Mako tells Kiyoharu that she thinks Fujita was a good leader because he sensed whatever she was feeling and responded accordingly. For the second qualifying round, Fujita's pair struggles to dance properly, and they keep crashing against each other in the second round, which is tango. They keep getting noticed by the audience too, who finds Fujita's expression scary and Chainatsu too vibrant. Kiyoharu points out that their footwork is clean and that there are other pairs too who are not getting along, so they can afford to make mistakes at the preliminary rounds. They both continue to butt heads with each other, and Fujita thinks about how dancing hasn't been fun since he has paired up with Chainatsu, and that everyone keeps telling him off, but he already knows that he needs to work on himself and has to stop running away from everything. Kiyoharu recalls that Fujita caught his eye in the beginning when he realized that Fujita actually dances according to his emotions, so he cannot wait for Fujita to use his emotions to dance again. At the dance floor, Fujita starts to control the flow of the dance as he swings around Chainatsu, and soon Chainatsu starts to feel a creepy, strange feeling as if somebody's dancing sense is slowly absorbing into her body. They both have a single moment of harmony where they dance perfectly, which shocks the judges and Kyujumiya as well. Gaju and Kiyoharu discuss how Fujita and Chainatsu's performance kept getting worse for the rest of the matches, so much so that they were even arguing on the floor during one of their dances. Kiyoharu points out that their basics are pretty strong, so they cannot get disqualified at the preliminary stage, but they cannot get to the finals if they keep this up. They both see that they have gotten a full score again in the latest round, which cheers them up, and they ask Kyujumiya to take their picture with the scoreboard. Chainatsu reminds him that they have to defeat Kyujumiya's pair too, and she becomes super happy to realize that Akira has not gotten a full score. She taunts Akira that they don't have time to pay attention to her and that she has already got her hands full with Fujita. As they begin their next dance, she notices that Fujita is sneaking in some of his own dancing style, while Akira thinks about how Chainatsu has always ignored her even when they used to dance together. Their dance finishes and they start arguing about their mistakes while Akira's pair heads to the floor next. Chainatsu asks Fujita to judge which pairs will qualify for the semi-finals, and he starts pointing out some pairs which he thinks have a good silhouette and look sharply dressed, which shows they are serious about their dancing. They keep judging the other pairs, and Chainatsu comments that even a little mistake in the upcoming rounds can make the judges deduct the marks. She points out how Akira and Kyujimiya's pair have the same routines, but Kyujimiya's pair has better silhouette, and he recalls Marisa advice to Chainatsu telling her to open herself more and to make herself overflow. Fujita notices that Chainatsu is the most beautiful person in the ballroom, although this could be just his hormones talking. Shizuku calls Marisa, who tells her not to give any advice to Fujita's pair, but to handle the issue on their own. Shizuku then wonders with Mako how it feels like to dance with Chainatsu, who cannot be controlled by any guy out there, and Mako comments that it's probably because of Chainatsu that Fujita's dancing style is so different compared to her. Fujita and Chainatsu dance once again, and even though their synchronization sucks, they continue to dance fiercely with their own styles. Akira and her partner Mine dance next, and Chainatsu points out that although their tango looks nice and steady, their steps are off, and they will get dropped by third round if they keep their performance up. Akira tells Mine after the dance that he needs to stop missing his steps, so he apologizes to her since he keeps getting nervous due to his family members in the audience. Akira feels bad for making him apologize, and she notices that they have never argued before, unlike Chainatsu's pair, who is always fighting with each other. Chainatsu accuses her of always blaming her problems on her leader, so Akira points out that she has been arguing with Fujita a lot too, and Chainatsu assures her that their arguments are at a different level. The slow foxtrot dance begins, and Akira recalls how she used to be bullied by the other kids for being a fat cow. Her parents try to console her, but she doesn't listen to them, and soon Chainatsu joins her class. Since Chainatsu is cool and is the G, everybody seems to like her, but the boys call her skeleton behind her back. One of the girls warns Chainatsu to not hang out with Akira because she will get bullied too, and the next day Chainatsu gets into a fight with the boys because they were calling Akira fat. The boy calls her hair ugly too, so she cuts her hair off and starts crying out loud like a baby. The next day Akira and Chainatsu both show up at the school with short haircuts, and they become friends just like that. Chainatsu brings Akira to her home, and they decide to pick a hobby together, which turns out to be dance. They even participate in a kids' recital show where Chainatsu whines about wearing a skirt, and they keep dancing since they find it enjoyable. They then come across the world of competitive dancing, and Chainatsu becomes Hongo's fangirl, due to which she asks Akira to participate in competitive dances with her. As they start winning awards, Chainatsu gets a lot of compliments, and somebody comments that Akira's dancing skills as a girl may be even better than Chainatsu, so she decides to always keep the role of the girl even when Chainatsu asks her to switch roles. Chainatsu keeps getting better in dancing, so the other dancers in their studio start to isolate her more, while Akira becomes even more enchanted by a loner like her. As the other girls in their studio start to drop one by one, Chainatsu tells Akira that she will work hard for the two of them, so she doesn't need to work that hard. In the current, Akira dances with Mine while she watches Chainatsu argue with Fujita, and she wonders why Chainatsu is so serious about dancing with Fujita when she wasn't serious with her. Akira tells herself that as long as she is dancing, Chainatsu will keep looking at her. In the past, Akira tells Chainatsu that she doesn't like dancing, but she is just doing it to keep her company, so Chainatsu calls her a masochist for doing something she doesn't like. Akira in return teases Chainatsu about not being able to find a good partner, and she tells herself that she can be close to Chainatsu as long as she is dancing. Her mother soon tells her that Chainatsu has quit dancing, and she realizes that Chainatsu was a loser after all, who quit dancing too soon like the other girls. In the present, she slips on her dress, but Mina catches her tightly and spins her around. In the past, after she has cried over Chainatsu for the 100th time, she comes across Mine in her restaurant, whose wife tells him that he cannot participate in dancing anymore since their daughter is getting ready for middle school exams soon. When his family heads out, she asks him to become her dance partner just to show Chainatsu that she can go to higher places without her. In the present, she and Mine finish their dance, and she reminds herself that Chainatsu will only look her way when they are dancing. The first quickstep heat begins, in which Fujita and Chainatsu participate, and as usual they keep butting heads with each other. Chainatsu even steps her heel on his foot at one time, and soon the audience and the dancers start to notice that their pair is dancing weirdly since they keep dancing out of sync. Akira apologizes to Mine for lashing out on him earlier, and he tells her that about how he and his wife used to participate in competitive dancing in college, but they always kept fighting with each other for the 2 years that they stayed together. He explains that Fujita's couple always reminded him of his own pair, so he knew they would soon get separated, but they have grown a lot by now. The dance finishes and Chinatsu makes her bow in front of Akira. They both then walk off the floor while Akira bows to Mine's wife as well. The both then head to the floor to dance quickstep, and Chinatsu and Fujita cheer loudly for them. This time they dance well while Chinatsu keeps leering at them as she recalls her past friendship with Akira. Mine's wife comments that she is envious of the couple since they are making her miss competitive dancing, and Akira's pair finishes their dance. Fujita and Chinatsu head out to eat food since they have some time till the semi-finals, and Akira follows them. She keeps leeching herself onto Chinatsu, who tells her to get away from her. Akira even starts crying when Chinatsu pushes her away from her, and their families soon join them. Chinatsu gets handed some bananas to snack on while Mine's wife tells him that their daughter wants to start dancing too. Chinatsu's family asks Fujita whether his family has come to cheer him on, and he answers that his family hasn't come but his friends have come to cheer him on. Chinatsu tells them that his friends haven't contacted him, so her family members decide to cheer him on instead of his friends as well. Just then, Kiyoharu approaches him in wet clothes, and he takes him to the changing rooms to dry his clothes with his blow dryer. Gaju calls him, so he tells Gaju about the latest development, and he doesn't understand anything, so he turns off the call. Kiyoharu wears his pants back and Fujita asks him for some advice, so he sits on his back and tells him he is going to separate his muscles. He separates one of his shoulder blades, which makes him cry out like a dog, but he notices that his shoulder isn't hurting afterwards, but it's only throbbing. He separates his second shoulder and then his hip joints, which make Fujita feel like he has gone to hell. The results are published, which show that Akira's pair loses by a single point while Fujita and Chinatsu also lose a point. Fujita goes out to get some fresh air and comes across a lovey-dovey couple on the way who make him feel sick. He finds Kyujimiya smoking outside, and when Kyujimiya is heading back inside, Fujita tells him that he feels refreshed after talking to him. Kyujimiya reminds him that he will snatch all of his points away in the upcoming matches, and soon the semi-finals begin. They all head to the floor for the first round of waltz, and Fujita feels like his body turned too loose due to Kiyoharu's stretching. The dance begins, and as Fujita begins to dance, his movements are too dynamic and his body starts to move quickly on his own. He then begins rushing towards another pair, and it seems like they will both crash. Fujita and Chinatsu almost crash into another couple but manage to save it, and Fujita continues to have a mental breakdown about how he cannot move the way he wants to. He recalls Kiyoharu telling him how it was just a stretch and questions what he has done to his body. He looks around while thinking about how Kiyoharu must be looking at him from somewhere with that boring face, and complains about how he always does whatever he wants without helping Fujita out. He feels like he is being tested and that he hates it. Kiyoharu recalls asking Marisa why she is teaching the Fujita pair opposite dances, and she explains that she just teaches them the best dance depending on their character, body figure, and so on. He asks her if she also teaches them the dance based on which they can win, and she says that focuses more on how a dance should be while using the athletes to bring out a dance's history and future. Kiyoharu thinks about how the Kyujimiya pair excels in technical sways and their straight standouts due to their height, while the short Fujita pair uses visual effects by swaying their upper bodies and varying speeds. He overhears the spectators fangirling over the Kyujimiya pair and agrees that the Kyujimiya pair will win the show at this rate. He thinks about how balanced the pair is with a large range of motion, and that he loosened Fujita's body to increase his range of motion too. He assumes that his experiment has already failed, so he goes to sit down away from Gaju, and Shizuku and Mako sit next to him. He gets the girls while Gaju gets two ugly journalists that start yapping about how the Kyujimiya pair will win. The first waltz heat ends and Chinatsu is pissed about how badly Fujita performed, but the second tango heat begins immediately. The journalists question why the standard dance has thinner people compared to Latin, and Gaju says that they just do the dance they like, but the reporter remarks that the style a dancer might like and the style they're good in might be different. Gaju says that it's the same for him, but the bald reporter points out how Gaju said the opposite in a recent interview. Mako reveals that it's different for her, and Shizuku says the same while further explaining that standard requires more elegance and personal aura while Latin is more power-based. Mako terms it as Latin being like a cat while standard a dog, and says that the Kyujimiya pair is like a long borzoi while the Fujita pair is like a Pomeranian. Who knows if that's an insult or a compliment, and Kiyoharu thinks about how the short Fujita pair has an advantage in the tango and quickstep. The pair is still having a hard time getting their heads into the game, and Chinatsu thinks about how she needs to support Fujita somehow. The reporter talks about how the Kyujumiya pair was never able to excel in tango until today, and soon the third Viennese waltz heat begins. Kiyoharu thinks about how it's the most basic of the basics and the Kyujumiya pair excels in it. He says that he respects Kyujumiya for returning after the injury, and on the other side, Akira talks about how she's pissed at the Fujita pair because Chainatsu was a very good leader who always opened the door for her. The fourth round begins and Shizuku points out that Fujita is moving differently, so Kiyoharu tells them about his failed experiment. Chainatsu thinks about how must rescue their pair, and thinks about how she always had to open the door for Fujita. She sees no hope and suddenly leads the dance for a second, and Kiyoharu says that they were able to match at that moment. He says that it's like two leaders are making the way for each other, and Shizuku recalls how Hongo always used to complain about not having the ideal partner, but was able to reach new heights the moment she found her ideal leader. Chainatsu continues wondering about how Fujita might move and finally realizes that she needs to find a common sense between them. Their movements match once again, and she thinks about how she never fully trusted him with the lead, so she will do it properly now. They start matching again and Kyujumiya begins noticing them too along with the judges. Fujita realizes that they're not leading or following right now and are instead controlling the dance together. The round ends as they both finally attain a balance and the next round is about to begin. Kyujumiya thinks about how Fujita's face pisses him off because he reminded him of something unpleasant. He recalls how he used to get praised a lot at the start and sees his old self in Fujita, which makes him want to slap Fujita's face. He gets flashbacks of the time he used to be a 5th grader and his teachers felt like he was more absent-minded than others. One day, he meets Kunieda Tadashi, who asks Kyujumiya if he's interested in dancing. Moving forward a year, he participates in a competition and blurs everyone out because he has a hard time due to their stares. Tadashi compliments him a lot one day and says that he will one day become a professional dancer, but Kyujumiya's father doesn't like it. 2 more years go by and he starts teaching the other kids under Tadashi too. The next year, he encounters Sengoku and Chizuru in a competition but doesn't perform very well, while the negative comments make him wonder if he's really dancing in the right way. After another 2 years, he encounters Kiyoharu for the first time as his stardom continues to dwindle, and it also inflicts Q fatal blow on his confidence, making it question his style even more. In the 10th year, Tadashi introduces him to his current partner Idagawa, but he has a hard time keeping up with his peers. The despair of not improving as fast as before makes him think about how he wants someone to kill him. He soon gets into an accident just like he wanted but ends up surviving, but tells Tadashi that he won't be able to dance anymore. Tadashi tells him to change studios along with Idagawa after he recovers because he doesn't have the ability to help him become a real dancer. Tadashi soon closes his dancing school and Kyujumiya encounters Marisa, who he asks what real dancing is. He says that he just wants to prove that his dancing is beautiful and that he doesn't like being watched by people. He talks about how he envies the talented people around him, but she tells him that they're all going through hardships just like him and questions if he is ready to face it or not. 2 years go by and he returns to the stage feeling confident again. In the present, the next round begins and Chainatsu points out that it's the song she likes and Fujita apologizes to her for not being able to move properly. The audience begins to notice the pair and how they're moving with a lot of speed. Shizuku thinks about how a man must follow a woman's output, and based on how strong Chainatsu is, Fujita must be handling a monstrous engine right now. Fujita wonders how he can use the high torque they're outputting, and Kiyoharu thinks about how they were both very different and just needed to accept their differences. Fujita has a hard time and starts feeling like he has 4 legs again. He recalls feeling the same way during the Grand Prix and how his mind couldn't keep up with it before but is now ready to accept whatever his body feels. He suddenly feels very heavy and realizes that it's Chainatsu's weight that he is controlling now. He begins using her weight and everyone is surprised by them, while Kiyoharu thinks about how Fujita is very lucky because he has a great example of a leader right in front of him, and because of that he will continue to learn no matter what. He says that their footwork is very basic but they're properly using their upper bodies, which makes it look like they're doing a special routine. Shizuku says that the Fujita pair is totally opposite to the Kyujumiya pair. They talk about how the Kyujumiya pair dances in a beautiful textbook manner with the perfect basics in their every move with long strides and stable upper bodies, while the Fujita pair dances in an unusual manner that catches a lot of attention. Mako questions why they were only able to find their balance now, and Kiyoharu says that Fujita couldn't control himself because of the released tissues, so Chainatsu adjusted to match with him. Their current balance is all thanks to Chainatsu's ability as a dancer. Mako recalls how Kiyoharu asked her why she thinks that Fujita is a great leader, and she told him that it's because Fujita always adjusted himself based on the other person's feelings. Chainatsu recalls telling Fujita how he is a great guy, but she likes men who are more tough and daring. She thinks about how he is finally being the way she wanted him to be, and the pair finally begins moving forward as Fujita properly takes the lead. During the camp that was previously held, Fujita asks Chainatsu to help him pull out some weed while she just dozes off as she is listening to a quick-step song. He hears the song and oddly likes it, since it's unusual for both of them to have the same taste. In the present, they both dance passionately to the same song for their quick-step round, and just then, Tamaki and the others also arrive at the venue to watch their match. Jinbo discovers that Banba has become a cow again, and Tamaki points out Fujita's pair who have just finished dancing. Chainatsu's dad loudly cheers for her while Chainatsu scolds Fujita endlessly for making such crazy moves, due to which she had to adjust a lot too. He apologizes to her and he recalls everything that happened during the match and how Chainatsu finally caught up to his movements. She tells him to go look at the results while he whines about how he doesn't want to look at the results without her. The judges discuss the performance of the dancers and they compliment Kyujumiya's dancing style, while some judges like Fujita and Chainatsu's dancing style more since it's dynamic. Fujita sees that his pair has qualified for the finals by coming in 4th position, and that they got very low marks for their waltz performance. Fujita starts overthinking about his performance, but suddenly he gets a call from Sengoku, who compliments his latest hairstyle. Fujita starts running around like a crazy fangirl as he tries to spot Sengoku, but Sengoku just tells him that he will be watching him. Before the final match starts, Chainatsu tells Fujita that she doesn't want to understand him anymore since he is fine the way he is, and they both head to the floor for the waltz dance. Fujita recalls Sengoku's words that facing something that he doesn't understand must be scary for him, but that same thing can become very precious to him as well. He tells him to be himself and to be glad of himself. He shuts the call and Hongo calls him a liar for telling Fujita that he is watching him. He explains that he saw Gaju's mail and that Fujita gets excited when somebody is watching him. Fujita and Chainatsu continue their dance, in which Fujita smiles like the biggest idiot to ever exist, and suddenly he starts to lead Chainatsu around. Just like before, he feels like his body is very heavy and that he has grown 2 legs. Suddenly he feels like Chainatsu has grown out of him and he gives a spectacular performance on the floor, which makes everyone cheer for him. Kyujumiya realizes that Marisa was right to warn him about their pair, and he decides not to get defeated by a bunch of wimps. Fujita's friends discuss how he is performing so well after making them worry endlessly, and the reporters discuss who is gonna win, since the final winner will be based on the number of judges who will give the pair 1st place. They wonder whether Kyujumiya's pair's old steady dancing will win against Fujita's pair's revolutionary style. The audience keeps following Fujita's pair with their eyes, and as the dance finishes, Kyujumiya's partner tells him that he is rushing and he is too tense. For the next dance, Tango, Fujita's pair keeps dazzling as usual while Kyujumiya just sees them as an eyesore. Suddenly his leg cramps up because he was rushing too much and he starts leaning on Itagawa, which the other dancers notice too. He starts messing up, so Itagawa supports him and even corrects his posture surprisingly so that he doesn't mess up. Kyujumiya recalls when Tadashi introduced him to Itagawa as his dance partner. In the past, Itagawa goes to college, then to her part-time job, and she thinks that she is transparent to everyone. She likes dancing, but she doesn't want to become a pro, and one day Kyujumiya gets into an accident, so she goes to the hospital to visit him. He tells her that he knows she has got a full-time job now and that she doesn't have to wait for him to recover, but she still decides to wait for him to come back. In the present, Kyujumiya absorbs Itagawa's stubborn behavior and also recalls Tadashi whining, so he gets back into form since he hates losing and starts to dance with even more effort and passion. Fujita recalls when he saw Kyujumiya's scar during the summer camp, and when Kyujumiya told him that he got a fracture when he was hit by a truck, due to which he couldn't dance for a year. Fujita respects Kyujumiya for being so resilient, and finally both pairs finish their dance. Kiyoharu comments that Kyujumiya's pair probably has the upper hand in tango, and the next dance of Viennese waltz begins, which Fujita and Chainatsu have never practiced before. Chainatsu asks Fujita why he likes to dance, but he isn't sure himself, and she thanks him for finding out about dance, so he thanks her too. The Viennese waltz begins as Kiyoharu thinks about how it's a round in which both the man and the woman lead each other, so it should fit the Fujita pair very well. Fujita and Megamind Chainatsu lead each other in a world of their own as they dance around the stage spinning like they're actually in Vienna. Shizuki thinks about how it's been a year since she met Fujita and is shocked by how much he has improved since then. Kiyoharu remarks that dance isn't about experience, and a person who has danced for a year could easily outperform someone who has been dancing for a decade because that is just what dance is like. Fujita finally understands why he paired up with Chainatsu and thinks about how he is able to love and hate himself thanks to her. He thinks about how it's all because he loves Chainatsu and the person she is. The round soon ends and Itagawa asks Kyujumiya if his leg is okay or not, but he only says that he wonders why he's dancing. The fourth waltz heat begins and the Kyujumiya pair continues to shine on stage with their height and long arms. He thinks about how he started to hate dancing at one point in life and the accident made him think that he could finally escape dance, but he questions why he's back on stage again. He recalls Marisa telling them how a person's dance is like the reflection of their knowledge and experiences and realizes that he must live with hell on his shoulders. They slowly dance around the stage, gliding beautifully, and the judges are impressed by their dance along with how happy he looks while dancing. The reporters talk about how the Fujita pair looked like they had a chance of winning, but the Kyujumiya pair seems most likely to win the trophy. Gaju doesn't agree with them, so they point out that the final evaluation is based on majority rule, so the Fujita pair needs to be chosen as the number one by more than half the judges while being against the Kyujumiya pair, which seems very unlikely. The teachers from Fujita's previous studio also come to cheer for him, and he notices everyone sitting in the stands, so he wonders where Sengoku is at. He looks around the stadium and the final quick-step waltz begins, which the pair excels at. They start jumping around and the Kyujumiya pair doesn't hold back either. Fujita wonders why all the people present chose dance over any other sport, and wonders why he chose dance too. He recalls the day he met Sengoku for the first time and how all the people encouraged him along the whole way. He goes into a world of his own as he dances and he enjoys it to the fullest, amazing everyone watching them. The dance finally ends and all the people wait for the result. The bald reporter assumes that it's the Kyujumiya pair's victory, but the other reporter points out that people can like either the Kyujumiya pair's traditional dancing or the possibly revolutionary dancing of the Fujita pair, so it all comes down to the taste of the judges. Chainatsu's father tells her siblings that it's her victory, but the mother tells them not to be so sure until it's announced, and they talk about how they're glad she was able to find a good leader. The judges finally start announcing the positions from the lowest to the highest, and thankfully they don't come last place. One by one the other pairs move forward as their names are called, and it comes down to first and second place remaining as they all await for the next name that will be loser. Shizuku reminds everyone that Marisa's promise was first place, and the judges finally announce the second place, which turns out to be the Kyujumiya pair. Both the pairs get shocked and Gaju jumps on his seat to celebrate just like Chainatsu's mother. Chainatsu kisses Fujita on the cheeks, which flusters him, and she reminds him about how she said they would separate if they don't win. She points out that they won't have to separate now, so he should be ready to take her on. Mako talks about how Fujita isn't the same person she danced with anymore, and Suzuki thinks about how she doesn't have the right to tell him that she will only wait a year for him. Kiyoharu walks out of the stadium and Itagawa asks Kyujumiya if he will continue to dance, so he tells her that he will. The judges talk about how they were captivated by the pair's dance, and so the Fujita pair spectacularly performs the honor dance to mark the end of this video. That's it for today, my fellow men of culture. Like and subscribe the channel for more plot-filled recaps.